Good day. It's Amy K. Gaskin, Aging Maven aficionado here at Ask Amy About Aging, and I'm once again joined with Jodi Benusa. Today we're going to be talking about overcoming overwhelm and stress, and I'm so happy to have you back. So Jodi, why don't you tell those of you who don't know much about you a little bit about you, and then we'll dive right in.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me today, Amy. It's my pleasure. I love talking about this topic. So, yeah, I am an independent geriatric consultant, which means if you're caring for an elderly loved one or a family member or a friend and it's just not working out any longer and you can just tell that a change needs to happen, but you have no idea how to maneuver the healthcare system or even what to do, then that would be a signal to you to give me a call. Schedule a call with me and let's talk and see if we can work together. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do. I was a hospital discharge planner for almost 16 years before I just got fed up with Medicare rules and hospital regulations and walked away and brought my very specialized skill set to the public.
Yes, it's very important. And let me tell you, when you're trying to figure out things to do, you need someone, you need a guide, a mentor. You need someone like Jodi Benusa, geriatric care consultant. So let's talk about the holidays are coming up. Everyone's under all this stress. And on top of that, we have a lot of people that are caring for their loved ones. So what can they do, Jodi?
Sure. So, this topic, we could talk for hours and hours about it, but I always like to start at the very beginning and then kind of build from there. So whenever someone starts their caregiving journey, it's really important to really think about how that journey started. Did it start out of a sense of obligation? Because obligation can sometimes be a negative thing. So really think about that. How did your journey start? Were you obligated? Did your loved one fall and fracture a hip and then went to the hospital, had a hip replacement, was sent to rehab, and now rehab is done and now it's time to go home, and that loved one isn't quite safe to be alone. So you're obligated at that point to jump in and start being a caregiver, really without much even thought. So a lot of times that type of caregiving never ends. It continues. So really take a moment and think about how your caregiving journey began. And if it was out of obligation, really think about that and how you feel about that. Because if it was a negative experience, that obligation can quickly turn into overwhelm, which is really the first step into stress and caregiver burnout. So overwhelm is simply a strong onset of emotions. So the tricky part is really understanding when overwhelm strikes, when you feel that overwhelm, a sudden onset of strong emotions.
Okay.
Once you can identify that, you can go, oh, wait, I am feeling overwhelmed. You just pause. You pause right there, go, yep, that's the first step, is identifying that feeling and acknowledging it. Okay. That's how you're going to handle everything else better. So we have a couple of ways that we can handle this overwhelm. And that's really what I want to talk about mostly today.
Okay.
Because if we can get the overwhelm under control, you're going to avoid the stress and the burnout.
Works for me.
So I really want to talk about really, what do you do? Okay, all right, I've identified that I've got this overwhelm. So you have two choices. You can choose to be judgmental to yourself and mean and say not nice things, or you can choose to be what I call a compassionate exploratory scientist to yourself.
Okay.
So here's the difference. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, we can use any example you want, but let's just use this for simplicity. Mom won't take her pills. She keeps spitting them out. And you know what? She spit it out for the 18th day in a row. And you are frustrated. You sense that feeling of overwhelm. You identify it. So you can do one of two things. You can say, oh, I wish I'm just going to make her take these pills. I am so sick of this fight. I don't want to have this fight. I shouldn't be feeling this. I shouldn't even be doing this. That is judgmental.
Yeah.
That's not the right way to handle overwhelm. So what I want you to try to do is try to be compassionate to yourself. Explore that emotion if you're able to. Say, I wonder really what it is that's causing me to feel overwhelmed at this moment. I wonder why mom isn't taking her pills. Explore the feeling, talk it out in your own mind, write it out on paper. But if you can be compassionate to yourself and explore, you're going to figure out exactly what to do with that sudden, strong onset of emotion.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know this or not, but it took Edison, I've read a couple different numbers, between 5 and 10,000 times to create the light bulb.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember reading that and thinking, you know what? It doesn't happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight.
Yeah.
You have to give yourself the chance to make it happen the right way. And, yeah, I totally agree with that.
It takes a lot of practice. And, he could have said the first time, he said, oh, this isn't going to work.
It is.
Yeah. But instead, he said, I wonder why that didn't work. Let's try something different. So he doesn't say that he failed 10,000 times. He said it took 10,000 steps to get the light bulb to work.
Right.
So it's all in how you think. It's all in your mindset. So you can choose to be that judgmental person and blame yourself, blame your mom, blame. Or you can take a moment and go, I wonder why. What could be different? So the other thing that really goes hand in hand with this is we get caught up a lot. I do it, and I work hard not to do it, but I still do it, is you get caught up in the I should have, I shouldn't have. Those shoulds and shouldn'ts they can pile guilt on you. They can pile shame on you. Remember this. I want your listeners to really grab a hold of this. Shoulds and shouldn'ts are not facts. They are simply perceptions and thoughts. I should be more compassionate. Well, that's really your perception. Is it a fact? We don't know that yet. So really be careful in getting caught up in the shoulds and shouldn'ts. And that's really, really going to help you identify that overwhelm and then be able to choose that compassionate exploratory scientist.
Okay.
That's a mouthful.
Yes. And now I'm sure there's people out there going, okay, Jodi, you're going to tell me how to get my mom to take medicine. And that's another episode. Because there's a million different reasons, correct? And there are a million different ways to try.
Yeah.
So when you're frustrated, you should seek advice from others, right? And
absolutely.
When you're feeling that overwhelm start and you're feeling like you can't do it, you need to figure out, take it back. There's other ways, and you can do it, and you realize you can do it. And you just realize you need the right people in your corner. You need the right information in your corner.
Yep. So really, stress is the body's response to overwhelm, and it can lead to physical, emotional, and all kinds of different symptoms. So my goal is to help caregivers to stop the stress dead in its tracks, so to speak.
Okay.
Because when you're feeling stressed out and when you're not dealing with that, when you're not dealing with the stress, it is going to lead to burnout.
Oh, absolutely. And that's just it's the precursor.
Yes.
Precursor.
Yep. I talk to people on a regular basis that say, well, you know what, I'm burned out, and they keep caregiving. And I just wonder what would happen if they would just be open-minded enough to go back to the beginning and try to figure out how their journey began, and was it out of a sense of obligation?
Right.
And then just be able to look and see how everything kind of snowballed. So, yeah.
So when you have this, because there's many people that are faced with this obligation, and now they're like, okay, I'm obligated to do this. I'm going to do it. So how do you embrace it wholeheartedly so you're not feeling the obligation, you're feeling the love, you're feeling the what needs to be done. You're realizing there's resources out there. How do you turn that feeling of obligation into something better?
Yep. So that is a mental mindset. It's a choice, and you get to choose how you actually start your caregiving journey. I was being interviewed by a gal not too long ago that said that her mom was her main caregiver because of her disability. And her mom had the attitude of, I am so happy and grateful that I get to take care of this person.
Right.
And she said that every day. And the mom and the daughter had a very open relationship. And I think that is so critical for any caregiver. I don't care if you're caring for someone younger with disabilities or older. You've got to have that open line of communication, and you've got to have that sense that you can be honest with each other.
And it's a teamwork. The bottom line is it is teamwork.
Yes.
The caregiver and the caregiving are a part of a team, and they need to work together.
Yes.
And sometimes when dementia is involved, it's a little bit more awkward than that, but they have to want and accept the care.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it makes it even harder on the caregiver, correct?
Absolutely. It sure does. And if you are kind of thrust into that role, as caregiver, and if you're feeling obligated, you can there's still time to stop and come up with a plan, come up with some ideas instead of just letting everything happen. Devise a plan, devise some tools that you are going to be able to use in the time when you need a break.
Everyone needs a break. You cannot do it on your own. So many people just think that they can do everything on their own. And then when it blows up, they blame themselves. And then it's just in such a negative situation.
Yeah. You see how that overwhelm and the shoulds and the shouldn'ts can just pile up real quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They pile up so quickly, and then you get stuck. So if you have a plan ahead of time, and when you feel the overwhelm, start making a plan to change what you're doing, you're going to prevent yourself from getting into the stress. Except the neighbor that wants to come over and sit with your mom for an hour.
Yeah.
Accept that.
Yeah.
If you're in Florida, you want to go sit on the back porch and get a suntan, or if you need to go drink a cup of cocoa or a cup of coffee to warm up because the blizzard's on the way.
I do.
The bottom line is sometimes even a 10-minute break or a 15-minute break can make all the difference. Reset everything.
Yeah.
Reset mind.
It's so important to keep in your mind, in your mindset, that you can only care as good for someone else as you care for yourself. So if you're not doing some of that self-care for yourself, taking those breaks, the one that you're caring for is getting, suffering and getting that too.
Yeah.
So it's so important.
Because I've seen some people that feel guilty that their adult children have to care for them. And, the adult child feels obligated that they should be doing it. And yet everyone might be happier to figure out how we can pay for care that, maybe the daughter can be the daughter.
Right.
Maybe, and maybe the daughter does caregive sometimes, but it's 24 hours in a day.
Right.
And we have to consider everyone's happiness and everyone's factor, and make sure that things are not obligated. They're done out of love and done out of what we need, so we prevent this overwhelm and stress.
Yep. That starts right at the very beginning, right from the get-go. Having that mindset is, I am grateful that I get to do this. I am thankful that I get to do this. I get to spend this much time with my mom, with my dad, with my friend. So if you have that negative onset, like, oh man, I shouldn't have to be doing this, like I am giving up my life, it's really going to backfire.
Yeah. And pause. And you can always step back to the beginning. You can at any moment in time. So if you're a listener and you've been taking care of your mom for 6 months or a year or 2 years, and you're finding yourself in this thing, go back. Mm-hmm. Reset your mind and restart again and reach out for help.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other final words of wisdom you have for us today?
Oh gosh, I just wish everyone a wonderful holiday season, and just gosh, reach out to either Amy or myself if you have further questions. Feel free to look up my website. It's Midwest Geriatric Consulting Services.com. I named it the Midwest Geriatric Consulting Services simply because my heart is in the Midwest. I can work anywhere in the country. It is my responsibility to get the job done, no matter where you live.
That's great. And thanks again, Jodi, for coming. Again, this is Aging Maven Aficionado, Amy K. Gaskin, and another episode of Ask Amy About Aging. Thanks again, Jodi, and I look forward to having you back again.
Thank you so much, Amy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.